5 cousins. We're all around, we're the same age, all born in 1991. And we all got like word from God around the same time. And at 12 years old, you tell someone they're having ministry, and like I feel like I wasn't prepared for what was coming after that. All I knew is that I wanted to be like my grandfather, I wanted to be like my aunt, I wanted to preach, I wanted to be a part of church, I wanted to do all these things. I wasn't prepared for the storms that were coming my way with that message. I wasn't prepared for what would be coming over the next year and a half. So once I turned 12 and I got the message of the ministry, I just, I waited for confirmation, I got it, and I started preaching in church, I started talking, I started doing evangelism, I started becoming involved with our youth. I became the secretary for the area of New England for our church council, and I started becoming really involved in church. At the age of 14, I was involved in a domestically, emotionally, physically violent relationship. It was really, really bad. It was to the point that I was actually talking with Cynthia and Tina yesterday, and I was like, oh God, the old Edith is to the point where I would never be able to recognize her because I became such a violent person in order to defend myself that I was just angry all the time. I wasn't ready. I felt like I had to take on all these weights that the enemy were throwing at me on my own. I never reached out to my mom. I never reached out to my aunt. I never reached out to the people around me. So when I was in the 8th grade, that was around the beginning where everything started, 14 years old, middle school, almost ending. I became so violent that I was actually telling Cynthia and Tina, I took out scissors on a girl. Boston Public Schools, I'm not allowed to have scissors. But that's to the point where I got. And over the next couple of years, I found myself in this downward spiral because I was trying to take everything on myself. I was trying to battle everything myself, like, oh my God, the enemy's attacking me through here. I got it, it's all right. I don't need anyone to pray for me. Oh, through here, it's all right, I got it. Oh my God, my arm, it's all right, I have it. And I realized that I got to this point in my life that I came to college. When I came to college, I was starting to find myself not really agreeing with some of the terms of how my family how I was really raised in church, and that's when I found Basic, when I found you guys. And when I found Basic was when I started realizing that, fellowshipping is the most beautiful thing in the world because your brothers and sisters are the ones that can help you pray. When you have something coming against you is when you need your brothers and sisters to be there for you. So when I came to Basic, I'm a really quiet person. I'm really reserved. So I just go and I observe and I let people approach me and I let people talk to me. I'm not really a really outgoing person. I just sit down and until I get to know you, I don't really joke around with you. I just sit and listen to you and talk to you every now and then. And then I started seeing the keyboard and I started talking to them here and there. And I realized Basic was something I needed. It was like my safe haven. But then I realized that there was something that needed to change in me. There was something that I needed to do, and it was to let go and let God. We say it all the time. We're like, God, please take control of the situation. But here we are still holding the situation like, God, please take control of it. But please, I don't want to let go of the situation. Just, take control of it, but kind of let me have control of it. And God's like, all right, you either want to take control or you're going to let me take control. I'm not going to fight you for it. When you're ready to leave it, you leave it. So I was in this violent relationship for some years, and even after everything broke off, this person still had an effect in my life. It got to the point where this person would say something about me, and it would get me enraged. I was just a beast, just so mad at the world. And I realized that at that point, I was letting the situation take control of me. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to walk in what God wanted me to walk because I wasn't letting Him do His will in my life. I was trying to take control of it. I was trying to to do God's will on my own. I wasn't trying to do God's will. I was just trying to do what I thought God wanted me to do, not what He really did want me to do. And I was actually looking at Job's friends, right? No, Job had some crazy friends. So Job had 3 friends. I'm going to butcher their names in the process, but their names are Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. And the first friend, Eliphaz, he's talking to Job, and he tells Job, like, you come for other people, like, and, God always allows you to give you the opportunity to come for other people, but your agony must be because you have committed a sin. And then he urges Job to seek God's favor. He's like, because you sinned before God, that's why God's allowing all this to happen. He didn't know Job's situation. He's just like, you're a sinner, that's why God's allowing you to go through this. Because of this sin that you committed, you don't even know what it was. He's like, you're a sinner. Go ask God for forgiveness. Bildad said that he must have committed an evil to offend God's justice, and told them to exhibit more blameless behavior. He said that Job's children brought their death upon themselves. It was their fault. They were sinners. They needed to die, pretty much. But, you were the one, like, you just don't live a righteous life. That's why all this is happening. And so far, he implies that whatever happened, whatever wrong Job has done, he probably deserves a greater punishment than what he has received. So whatever God has allowed you to go through is nothing. You deserve worse than that. And I find that many times we have those kind of friends in our lives that I don't even consider them friends. Like just people in our life that are like, oh, you're going through this pain? It's because you're a sinner. Oh, you're going through this pain, it's your fault, I told you not to go out with him. Oh, you're going through this pain, it's your fault, I told you not to go to UMass. You're in student loans, that's your fault. You should have gone to community college. And they start finding all these reasons of why you're going through. And Job, he was, the reason why all of them were telling him all this is because he just started like giving them all these things of, it's not true. It's not. But for us, we're just sitting there and we're like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. I am sick because that makes a lot more sense. I am going through this storm because I sinned before God. I am going through this storm because I'm not good enough. I do deserve to be in this situation. I deserve the worst. I actually deserve worse than what's given to me. And for a long time, I was the type of person, I felt like I deserved worse. I felt like I was like the scum of the earth. God hated me. There was nothing I could do to get into God's grace. And this person would say it to me, and I believe it. I'd be like, well, I mean, if God really trusted me and He really loves me, He would have never allowed me to go through this. He would never allow me to go through so much pain. When He sees that I'm crying at night, when He sees that I'm telling Him, if He doesn't fix it, it's over. And for many times, we have these people around us, and we start believing them. We start believing their voices. We start believing all these doubts that they put in our head of, you deserve this, you deserve that, you're not a just person, you're not this. And those voices are what quiet us, our hearts, from believing that we should do the will of God. And it was interesting because I was actually speaking with Minister Garnett, and he goes, for a long time, you know what your ministry is, but you've been blinded to the fact that you're already fulfilling your ministry. And that's how it is. Sometimes we're walking in the path God wants us to walk, but because we're so blinded by everything going on around us that we get so involved in these things that we don't realize that you're already fulfilling the purpose that God wants in you. Because it's not the purpose that you may have imagined, because it's not you may have imagined yourself, like let's say God says, you're going to be a preacher, you imagine yourself going internationally, but this is not me. I don't do all those exotic foods, showers outside, that's not me, unless it's God's will, but But like internationally, like just like preaching over platforms, over thousands of people, like TD Jakes, like, or if God says you're gonna be a singer, you imagine yourself on some Kirk Franklin, like superstar thing, and you don't realize that maybe God wants you to be a singer because He wants you to be a praise and worship leader, or He wants you to be a preacher because He wants you outside preaching to those addicts in the corners that no one else would go to. But we become so blinded by what everyone tells us that we deserve, and that God's punishing us for something, that we don't realize that we're ready, that we're there, that we're walking in our purpose. And we're so busy looking for our purpose. Like, what's my purpose? I don't know. God never told me. Like, I think God may have told me one time. I think that God was talking to me when He was praying, but I wasn't really sure. His hands were on me praying, saying stuff, but I wasn't really sure if that was for me because I don't deserve that. So maybe God has a different purpose. And you'll go before God, and God will give you the purpose. Again, the same thing. I don't think that was for me. The preacher's definitely not talking to me. He's not. This is not about me right now. There's 60 people in the room. It must have been one of the other 59 because God wasn't for me. And we don't realize that it is for you. God is talking to you. It may not be the way you expect. It may not be in the form you expect. It may not be from the person you expect. But He is talking to you because He wants you to know that you are ready. That He has prepared you. That once you open your heart and allow Him to come in and have His way in your heart, that He'll actually fulfill this purpose. That once you open up your heart, all He needs is for you to say, God, do your will in my life. It actually means, don't just say it. Like, it's funny because many times, this happens to me. I'm 22 now. Ooh, I feel old. And this happened to me over the past, 5 years, up until I was 19. And I was like, God, do your will in my life. Like, I come before God, be like, God, take control of the situation. And then I just say it, and then when I leave, I'm like, you are this. I can't stand you. I'm like, and then God's like, but yes, can I handle it? Can I handle it? And many times that hurts us because, so this person, while they were degrading me verbally and like pretty much like telling all these pastors all these things about me, this person he called himself a prophet, an evangelist. And he was going around preaching and all these things. And I was just like, but God, okay, let me get this straight. This person is just chilling there, like hurting me emotionally and all these things. And he's preaching and he's doing all these things and he's going above his life. Like, and he's like preaching your word, going all to all these high places, talking about he's going to Puerto Rico, going internationally. And I'm just sitting here like, God, can you heal my heart? Like, I want to do your will. But what I didn't realize is that I was so busy paying attention to what God was doing with someone else, to focus on what God was doing with me. I didn't realize that I needed to go through a healing process, that I needed to be put through the fire to be prepared. And sometimes you don't realize that we have gone through the fire, that we have gone through the worst part of our lives, and that it's been a lesson for us to be able to move forward. And we're so busy stuck in the lesson that we don't move forward, we just stuck there. We're like one of those little toy soldiers that just gotta be hopping around because they can't get out of their situation, they just have to hop around, but they're still stuck in their situation. And God's just like, let go of the situation and step forward. Allow me to do me. Like, we're like, God, do you, but at the same time, do me, like, I don't really know. God's like, okay, you need to make a decision. Do you want me to do what I have to do, or do you want me to let you do what you have to do? And that was the interesting about Job, is that after his 3 friends were like talking to him, he was like, nah, like that's not about, like I'm not about that. Like even after his wife told him to pretty much denounce God, I was going to try to say it, translate it into English because I know the sentence in Spanish, but that's not going to work for me. Like even after she told him to, all he did was, like, there was a time where Job was like, wondering why he didn't die in his mother's womb. Why he cursed the day that he was conceived. He cursed the fact that his mom was even born to be able to give birth to him. So he was just like, everyone talks about how strong Job was, how strong David was. They even had their moments of weakness. These strong men had their moments of weakness. It's all right to have your moments of weakness as long as you remember who the source of your strength is. It's all right to every once in a while be like, God, I can't deal with this. As long as you remember that the person you can tell is God, not your friend. So, going back a little bit to my testimony, I had a person that I confided with that any time a situation happens, that was the first person I called. And, well, there was two. One of them would be like, Edith, just go pray. The other one would be like, he did what? Girl, let's do some hood stuff. Yeah, we're not going to get into that, but let's do some crazy stuff, blah, blah, and all these things. And I'd be like, pray, do the hood stuff. Pray, do the hood stuff. All right, God, I'll pray later. I'll pray about it later. I'll pray that you'll forgive me. And so we just go and take control of the situation. And it was interesting that Job was doing all these things, but then at the end of the day, he realized, you know what? It's fine that I'm going through all these things. Because the Lord gave and he takes away. That means that, when I first read that, I used to be like, well, if he's going to give and take away, that means he must give back. Because he gave Job everything that he lost. And he multiplied it. And one of the interesting things is one time I was listening to a preaching and someone was talking about, but he gave him everything, but his wife that told him to denounce God was still there. He didn't change his wife. He still had the same wife.
Oh, snap.
That's what I'm saying, like, God, at least, and it didn't say that, everything he lost, including his kids. Everything. But his wife was there. And sometimes we have that person that's there and that may have told us to renounce God, but maybe it's a lesson for them to learn. I find that Job's wife was the one that took more out of it than Job, because at the end of the day she realized maybe this is how I should be living my life. He was living a life of example for his wife and he didn't even know it. His wife was like, just announce that, just get up, son. What are you doing? Get up off your knees and looking like a fool. Get up. Put on some clothes. What's wrong with you? We just lost our kids. What's wrong with you? Don't tell your God, the God that you pray to. Go denounce him. You know what? Just tell him whatever. And just kill yourself. At that point, she told him to kill himself. I find this crazy. Let my husband tell me to kill myself.
So sure, I'll kill you.
She said, deny your God and kill yourself. And all John did was, may the Lord be the Lord bless the name of the Lord. I'm like, this dude must. Sometimes I wonder, was he saying it angry? Was he peaceful? As we say, the Lord gave it, the Lord takes away. I feel like he was crying, sobbing, those puffy eyes that you see when people try to tell you they haven't been crying. I feel like Job was like that. But at the end of the day, he taught his wife a lesson. I had my big moment where I even said I wish I hadn't been born. I had my big moment when I doubted God. But at the end of the day, I knew who I trusted. And she saw the blessings. She got to see the blessings that God bestowed on Job after he went through his trial. After he went through all the things that he went through. She got to see that God did give, the Lord did take away, and then the Lord gave again and multiplied it. And many times we have those people in our life that just won't leave. They just won't. You could kick them out, lock the door, bolt it, chain it, swallow the key, bolt the windows, literally kick them out, unfriend them on Facebook, unfollow them on Instagram, stop following them on Twitter. You move to a different state, you go to a different school, you never go home just to not see them, and they still happen to be in your life. For my situation, I try to run so far. That's how I ended up my US. I try to go to Suffolk in Spain. To Suffolk in Madrid. I was just trying to go across the ocean. I was not anyone go anywhere near me. I tried to go so far. And then I got into like the schools like Northeastern, BU, like so close to home. It's like, no, I'm not like staying home. So I try to run away from God. And I ended up at UMass. I'm like, oh, this is far away from home. It's close enough that I could visit home and let them know that I could visit home if I wanted to, but far enough that I'm not going to visit so that they know that I don't want to visit. And then I realized, like, I tried to run from Boston so much because I knew that's where my circumstances were. And I tried to run from my circumstances, and I didn't realize that my circumstances were following me. And so I realized that there were people in my life that were meant to be in my life. And I tried to run from them because I felt like they were the ones holding me down, but I didn't realize I'm the only one that could hold me down. You are the only one that could hold me down. At the end of the day, Job could have believed his friends. Job could have told God, you know what, God, forget this, I'm out, deuces, peace. You know, you do what you gotta do, whatever, I'm just gonna kill myself. But at the end of the day, he was the one that chose to be like, no. God makes promises. He's made promises to the people of Israel. He fulfilled them. God made me promises. He's going to fulfill the promises in my life. He was the one that chose that. And he had these people still around him, just his wife just nagging at his ear every single day, like, can you leave? But he didn't take the easy way out. He taught her a lesson. He just taught her a lesson by believing in God. Some of us have family members that don't believe in God, friends that don't believe in God, roommates that don't believe in God. And we're always trying to shove God down their throat. Like, I'm going to church. You want to come with me? Like every single Sunday. They're like, no. But what we don't realize that it's your actions. I have a friend, right? And this guy, he's atheist, right? And, like, he doesn't believe in God. Like, he's not a Christ hater. He's not a God hater. He's an atheist. He doesn't believe in any higher power. He just doesn't believe. And I'm not really sure what I was talking to him, and I was telling him something about, I was telling him about how I was having a difficult moment or something I was going through. And he responds, but what about that God you believe in? I was like, this is embarrassing. And I'm like, what about that God? He's like, don't you always tell me that everything happens for a reason, that you have a God you trust? This is your time to show me. And if you show me, maybe I might believe. I'm like, okay, I know you're not going to believe me, man, if I show you. And he's like, well, you never know. And then I realized that sometimes we get to that point in our lives where God got to use our lives, someone that don't even believe it, and to talk to us. You know how I was like flushed red. I was so embarrassed. I was like, this guy just told me what about the God you believe in? Oh no, he just came at me. But then I realized that's the question I should be asking myself every time I go through a situation. What about the God I believe in? What about the God that I preach to people every time I see them? Or the God that I tell people to trust in every time they're going through a hard time, when I'm going through a hard time? What about that God? Where am I with that God? And that's where Job was at. Job was like, you know what? Yeah, that God. I feel like his wife was like his pushing point to trust a little bit more in God. Just deny God and kill yourself. Oh, you want me to deny God? I'm going to show you about my God. I'm going to show you about how I'm going to become stronger. And it's not so much about showing other people wrong, it's about showing yourself right. About showing yourself that you could allow God to come in and do what he has to do in your heart. That he has to do, that you can allow him to work. And like, when he says work, when you say like, God's gonna work in you, like, this. Sometimes you gotta tear things up. Sometimes you tell God, you know, God, God. But we're like, God, like, but don't break me. But sometimes, you gotta be broken. You know what's interesting? I was actually looking, the story of the potter? I was looking at the story and I was wondering, like, you made, like, pottery wheel. Come to find out, some of these people, like, they actually step on it. Like, they...
It sounds so ugly.
It's hot, it's broken. The way you step on it, you break glass. You just step on it. Like, I'm like, okay, God, you're going to step on me? Okay, you need to relax a little bit. But they have to stomp on it. Like, have anyone ever tried breaking a glass or anything?
Just throw it on.
They can't smash it. Like, you can't just... You gotta smash it, break it, and sometimes that's all God wants to do with us. Just let me break you and build you new again. But we're like, no, God, don't, please don't break me. Don't. I've already been through enough. Just try to make me from where I'm at. What? Can you let God do his job? Do you? Well, I was gonna ask you tell your professor how to teach something wrong. You doing that? Like, professor, you teaching wrong. Your professor's like, well, I got a PhD. My master's degree, I got 16 years of experience, 34 years teaching, and you...
How do you have 16 years of experience with 34 years of teaching?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But then there's that one person in class that's always trying to teach the class.
Professor is performing.
That teacher was fun. And we got extra points.
There's that one person in class that's always trying to teach, like, not just like her regular professor, like, trying to teach. I have political science majors. There's always that one person that, like, interns for a representative for one semester, knows everything there is to know about Congress, knows everything there is to know about the President of the United States. And so in class, this is actually really funny. There's this guy who worked for the state senator, and we were in poli-sci class, and we were trying to pretty much help do speeches for senators to give on all these things, and the professor's giving instructions, and this guy goes, no, when I worked for the senator, this is what we did. We didn't do it like this, we didn't do it like that, like we only did 2 pages, we didn't do 4 pages, and the professor stops and goes, okay, since you know so much, how about you teach the class? How about you take yourself out of my class and you apply to be a professor? And I was just like, oh, she's just started a war. Because this kid just thinks he knows everything. And that's how we are with God. God's like, okay, do you want to teach? You know what? It's all right. You know what? How about I get off my throne and you sit there since you know so much? Since you know everything, since you seem to know everything about everyone else's life too, just sit on the throne. You seem to be in everybody's business anyways, just go ahead, do you. And that's how we are. We just want to take over things. And we don't realize that part of being ready to allow God to do his will in our life is to actually allow him to do it. It's to actually realize that we are already in it, but we're too busy trying to tell him how to do his job that we don't allow him to show us that we're already in it. And that's the one thing about Job. He's been through some serious stuff. And it's funny because when I was preparing, I was thinking about all the things he had. Like, I actually was sitting there calculating it. And then yesterday when we went to the fashion show, this guy, he goes, I'm looking for a wife. Like, how? And then some girl was like, oh yeah, you can marry me, whatever. And the guy was like, how much do you cost? And she goes, 50 cows. And he goes, you're way too expensive, 50 cows? And then this other girl goes, chicken. And he goes, oh, I like chicken, I just fed you chicken. And I just realized, all right, if 50 cows are expensive, then imagine how rich Job was that he had all these animals. Like, I've been to the UMass farm, I've been to some of the surrounding farms, and these farmers are rich, but they don't have half as many things as Job did. Like, not even half. He had 12,000. He has 11,000 animals. Plus, he had service for every type of animal he had. Plus, he had his kids, and his kids had parties every single day. I mean, I'm sure that their parties weren't like the UMass parties that be like in the dorm halls that get our it's all magazines that get write-ups and stuff. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, little write-ups. But like, he was rich. He was filthy rich. And I was thinking, I'm like, well, we're rich. And so I was translating some of the things he had, and I was like, think about his 500 oxen and his 500 donkeys as your 1,000 aspirations. Think about his 7,000 sheep as the 7,000 dreams you've ever had. The 10 sons and daughters as your faith. And the 3 friends and his wife as the people around you. How many of us have had our 1,000 aspirations killed? Our dreams killed? Our ideas stolen? Our faith burnt? And the people around us, the ones to betray us. And we start thinking about those things. And, you know, for a long time, that was me. I was thinking about those things. I was thinking about all the times that my dreams have been killed, all the times my aspirations have been killed. As a matter of fact, for a long time, I beat myself up because my family had this expectation for me that I feel like I did not fulfill. I'm graduating in about 32 days. Hallelujah. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, there's people my age that have accomplished, like, I was looking at some of the seniors graduating with me, and I'm like, but these people have, like, their whole life planned out. They have all their aspirations and all their dreams are set. Like, they know where they're going for graduate school. As a matter of fact, they have their job. They're going to be working during graduate school so that it's the same job, but a higher position when they graduate from graduate school. I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out my life. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm trying to eat for dinner after I leave. Like, and these kids have their whole life planned out. And I start seeing myself as a failure because I'm thinking about my dreams that died, my aspirations that died, my faith that I lost for 3 seconds, the people that betrayed me, and I start thinking about all these negative things. But then, I don't think about all the blessings that I do have. And many times that's how we are as human beings, is that we think about the shoes we don't have, that we don't realize that we might be wearing a nicer pair than anyone else can afford. We don't realize that like, most of the time they tell you, oh, look at your brother to your left, or brother to your right. There's always someone going through a worse circumstance than you. And I realize that there's only you know how bad your circumstances. I can't